Phainon light cone calculations. That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. Don't mind me. I'm just doing my little farm for our boy Phainon. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about what light cones are going to be the best for our boy Phainon. I'm going to go over all the free-to-play options and all the expensive options or the not free-to-play options that he also have and which ones are the best. If you enjoy this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you are going to plan to pull for Phainon, I have something that may help you get that done. Lootbar.gg, the trusted top-up site in which you can get premium currency for your favorite Hoyo games like Honkai Star Wars, Zone Zero, and Genshin Impact at a discounted price. After you select the game, you're going to enter your UID in your server. Make sure this information is 100% correct. And after you select the product you want to purchase and click the top up now button, you follow the prompts to the purchase. And after you're done, you're going to get the currency directly to your game in a matter of a minute or so. Lootbar also has over 20,000 reviews on Trustpilot with a 5-star rating, so you know it's trusted. It's very safe, very fast, very easy. So make sure to save some money. Check out lootbar.gg. Link in the description below. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the light cone calculations say. Thus Burns to Dawn is a signature light cone. Obviously, it's going to be the best in slot compared to his best free-to-play option, which is the Fall of an Eon. It's going to be about a 29% damage increase. And if you are using his signature light cone as the base, then the Fall of an Eon would be about a 23% damage drop off. The ones in between those are going to be more expensive. The Brighter Than the Sun is going to be Danny Boy's signature light cone. The reason this light cone performs so well is because it gives him crit rate as well, gives him a little bit of attack, and it also has one of the highest base attacks in the game. So that's why Brighter Than the Sun is right here. And on the same token, Thankless Coronation, which is Saber's signature light cone, is also here for the same reason. It does give him a little bit of attack and has a pretty decently high base attack, although definitely not even close to these two. These two have really high base attacks. Now, for those unlucky players that have pulled or lost 75/25s to Clara's light cone multiple times, if you have an S5 something irreplaceable, you are just a little over 100%, which is the base for the Fall of an Eon. So if you have 5 copies of something irreplaceable, you're a little bit better than the free-to-play option. Now, the Fall of an Eon has always been a really strong light cone for every attack scaling destruction character. Whenever you attack, you can stack 16% attack up to 4 times, so up to 64% attack you can get from this. And when you break weakness from the enemies, you have a 24% damage bonus for 2 turns. This is really strong. Once you have this up and running, you ult, you are going to have it throughout the duration of the ult. 64% attack bonus and 24% damage bonus for the duration of Phainon's ultimate is going to be very good. This is why this light cone has always been good. Like, ever since we've had access to it, every single destruction character wants it for a free-to-play option. Now, taking a look at Clara's light cone, at S1, you get 24% attack. And then whenever you get hit or you defeat an enemy, you're going to heal a little bit of HP, which he does heal himself already, so it doesn't really matter. This part doesn't really matter too much. But at the same time, you do get a 24% damage bonus. So this is why this light cone, it acts kind of like a baby light cone for this one. I think they have almost the same. No, this one has a higher base attack, but you do get 64% attack bonus with this one comparatively to the 24 you get from this one, and you both get 24% damage bonus for both of them. And this at S1. At S5, you get 40% attack, which is still not enough to compare with the Fall of an Eon, and you also get 40% damage bonus, which is pretty good. And it's also for 1 turn, and that's pretty much all Phainon needs. He only needs 1 turn to erase the board. Now, as we discussed earlier, the Brighter Than the Sun is Dan Hong's light cone. The reason this light cone is so good is because it has a 635 base attack, which is among the highest. Not even Saber's light cone gets that high, and even his own light cone is 688. So it's actually very comparable. About 50 attack is pretty much the highest you're going to get when it comes to destruction light cones, right? Aside from that, you get help with your crit rate, which if you're using him with Sunday, then you're probably not going to have problems with crit, but it's going to make it a little easier to get the 100% crit mark, or close to it at least. And then this basic attack portion, it's only going to be very good whenever you have less than 3 enemies, because he does have an attack that allows enemies to hit him back for the counter. But when you have, like, let's say for a single target enemy, that's only going to have 1 hit. So you're going to have to use your basic attack on your ultimate more often when you have less enemies. So this is when this light cone is going to be very good, which you can get up to 36% attack for that ultimate, which is very good. The attack bonus is not as good as, for example, Clara's or Fall of an Eon. However, because you have a higher base attack, it actually comes out a little bit better. So if you have Danny Boy's Lycon, you could use it on Phainon, so it's not that big of a deal. Next up, we have Thankless Coronation, which is a Saber's Lycon. Has a decently high base attack. I think it's the same as something replaceable. Yeah, 582 for both. And this one gives you crit damage instead of crit rate from the Danhong Lycon. And then when you use your ultimate, you get a 40% attack bonus and then another 40% attack bonus. But I don't think you can actually trigger this because you don't have energy per se. So the only reason this is here is because you do get a 40% attack bonus when you ult, and you have a decently high base attack. So now these numbers look eerily similar, right? They look eerily similar. You do have a 40% attack bonus with the crit damage, and something replaceable has a 40% attack bonus with 40% damage bonus. So they kind of even themselves out. That's why they're pretty much 102 and 102 respectively. They're pretty much the same thing. And then lastly, covering his more expensive options, you do have his own signature Lycon, which increases his base speed by 12%. This is a whole discussion for its own video. His base speed affects his transformation state, which makes him go more times within the cycles. It does allow him to ignore 18% of defense, and after you use the ultimate, you obtain a stack that increases your damage dealt by 60% for that one turn, which is an insane amount of damage bonus. Now we take a look at Lycons that are not all the 5-star Lycons. You got Trial of Bygone Blood, which is a newer Lycon that we're going to get. I think this is a banner Lycon, the one with Kid Mighty on it. It does have a decently high base attack. Your base attack is 529, which is I think the same as Fall of a Neon actually. Yeah, 529 Fall of a Neon. And this one will give you a crit rate at S5 and 40% damage bonus when you skill or ultimate, which in the transform state, Phainon's abilities all count as skill damage except for his basic attack. So that is the Trial Bygone of Blood, which is a new Lycon we're going to be getting in 3.4. Obviously something replaceable we already talked about. To be fair, since Fall of a Neon is a 100% free-to-play Lycon, you shouldn't really be using any of these if you're not going for a signature, even if you have him at S5. The only one that you could make a case of using at S5 is going to be Clara's Lycon, or even if you have Don Hunt Lycon, you could possibly use it as well. But in any other case, you are going to be using his signature Lycon or Fall of a Neon. That's pretty much the options. Now, what happens if your Fall of a Neon is taken by another destruction character? Then you use something irreplaceable, which is only about 4%, or if you get lucky enough to pull 5 copies of this Lycon by the time he comes out, which is in his own banner, I think it'll be okay for you to use the Bygone Blood one. But aside from that, you are mainly just gonna stick with Fall of a Neon. There's no real reason to use any of the other ones. Now, would I say that his Lycon is worth getting when the difference is about 25 or 26%? Or would I get his E1 instead of his S1? If you go down here to the Eidolon comparisons for single target damage, his E0 S0 would be at 77% because we already said that. His S1 will give him 23%, and then the E1 would be 1% better than the S1. Now, the E1 and the S1 both kind of serve a similar purpose when it comes to the speed and having him go more times. His S1 is going to be for every enemy target defeated within the transformation, the inheritance of the extra speed increased by 1% up to 84%. Right now he is at 60%. When you get him, he's at 60% of the base speed, but he will get up to 84% of the base speed, which will allow him to go more times. It actually calculates to more than 12% base speed. And then you also get a pretty hefty crit damage increase for the S1. It's honestly not too crazy. It's only a 1% difference between the E1 and the S1. However, if you're going to compare it to the E0, if this one is 77 to 100 and this is 77 to 101, then obviously the E1 would numerically and mathematically be better. Now you have to take into consideration that you have to pull for another copy of the character, which would allow you to lose or put you exposed to lose another 50-50 and end up being a lot more expensive than just going for the S1. So in my recommendation, if you are going to vertically invest in Phainon, I recommend just pulling for the S1 because it is cheaper. If pulls and income is not an opposition to you and you have enough to get either the S1 or the E1, regardless of what happens, then I recommend going for the E1 because it is technically better when it comes to the numbers. Frankly, it's been a while since we get a character that can benefit from Fall of a Neon, so I'm actually pretty excited to try him out on Fall of a Neon. I am going to go for his E0 S1, maybe his E2 S1, I don't know yet, but I will be trying him live when he comes out over at twitch.tv/iSUMMON YT. We are going to try him on his free-to-play option and see how he performs. So this is going to be today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Until next time, guys, see ya.